How's it going, guys? So, I got asked how to create something that opens, but only when you have a key item. So, this is actually a fairly easy setup to do. Right here we have a gate, and there's a door. There's nothing real special with the door except for the fact I've already animated it. One of my previous videos I go over on how to animate different properties, but as you can see, whenever we go to an opening sample, it just opens up. So it's nothing very special or anything like that. I've already set up the animation layers down here, so all these transitions are already set the way they need to be. And for my parameter, I'm just calling it open. So the first thing we'll need to do is we need to create a key item that we can pick up. So right here we got a bunch of cars. Let's just say we come up to this vehicle right here, and we just want to get it where you get close to it and you're able to get a key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and right click on it. I'm going to create empty, and we're just going to call this key. You can call this whatever you need to call it. It's your collectible item. I'm actually going to move it over here because I want it to be whenever we walk past this, we're able to collect it. So because we're collecting a key, the first thing we're going to need is we need a trigger area, so this way the player is able to interact with it. So I'm just going to create a fairly simple trigger area right here. Nothing too crazy. There we go. I think right about there should be good. Overlap the car a little bit. And we need to make sure this is set as a trigger. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we need to add Scraps Interactive, because this is actually what allows the game to interact with this game object. And so we'll select the key right here, and we're just going to drag it. Well, first of all, we need to create a condition over here. So now we're going to drag this and put it here. So we want to be able to collect the key, and so we're going to type in collect, collectible. We'll click on that. You can set the value whatever you want, but definitely make sure it's selected as a key item. And the name of this item, we'll just call it key. So right here on the interactive script, we'll click on no function, and we're going to go down here to collectible, and we're going to drag and drop and select collect. So now whenever the player interacts with this, it'll show that he has gotten a key item called key. So the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to open this up, and we only want to be able to open it up if we have the key. So the way we do that is, because it's animated, we're going to need to say public animator. We're just going to call it NM. Because we're calling the animator, we now need to go into the start method group, and we need to actually tell it to get this component. And the component type we're getting is animator. So from there, and if you heard my dogs, I'm sorry about that. Once we've called that, now we need to be able to tell it to open. So we're going to say public, so this way the Scraps Interactive can interact with it. And we're going to just call this open. You can call it whatever you want, it doesn't matter. So what we need to do is we need to first check the state of the gate. And we're going to say if nm.getBool, and we're going to say the parameter name, which in this case is called open. If that equals false, then we'll say nm.setBool, and we're going to type in open because we're setting the parameter that we want, and we're going to set this to true. Normally I would just create an else statement, but we're going to need to see if we have that key item. So in this case, I'm actually going to say else if nm.getBool open equals true. We're going to say nm.setBool open, and we're going to set that to false. And so what this is going to do is it's going to look at that bool, and it's going to look at that parameter. And if it equals false, it's going to set it to true, which will allow the door to open. Or if it's set to true, this is going to be an else if statement. It'll say if it's true, then it'll set it to false. So the next thing we need to do is we actually need something that will actually register if it's going to be a key item. Now I already have this pile trigger open right here, and it's going to look at the scraps inventory instance can consume key item. So is what we're going to do is we're going to come back up here, and we're actually going to say and scraps underscore inventory dot instance can consume key item, and the name of this item is just called key, and we need to make sure we have at least one. There we go. And so now is what's going on. Did I type that right? I think I typed that right. I did not type that right. Okay, so we don't need that then. Awesome. So now is what's going on is it's saying, okay, if it's closed and you have the key item, then we'll open. And something else you can do. Let's say it only opens one time, and then you start having issues with it after that. The easiest way to do this is create a private bool locked. So we're going to say locked equals true. So this way, and do this. Oh, actually, wait, I don't want to do it like that. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll do it like that. Really? Come on, keyboard. Okay, so right here, if it's locked, it's going to look at all of this. And so all I'm going to do is copy this code. That's not what I meant to do. Else. There we go. So what's going to happen is it's going to look here, and for this we'll say locked equals false. So it's going to use the key item, and then it's going to say it's unlocked, or locked equals false. And because of that is what's going to happen. In fact, we don't even need this statement here anymore. What's going to happen after that, because now locked equals false, it's going to just look at the regular state. And so once you use this key item, you won't have to worry about, the door staying open all the time. You'll still be able to close it and open it and interact with it any way you want. So that's actually going to be, it's going to be at your convenience at that point, because now the door is unlocked. So the next thing we need to do is we actually need to add a box collider to this. And we'll do that by simply creating a box collider, setting it as a trigger. And the nice thing about Unity, even though we already have a collision object, you can add as many collision objects as you want. So it's actually really, really handy. And all I'm going to do is just move this outside of the door like that. And the last thing we need to do is we need to add a scraps interactive. I'm just going to type in interactive. And we're going to drag this over onto here. We're going to click on no function. And we need to go up to the, it helps if we have the script put inside the game object. After that, we need to grab the animator, drag it down here, and put it on here. And so now when we click on this, there's door open sample, and we'll click on open. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this. We'll hit play, and you'll see it is all working. So let me go ahead and just jump to the gate and come right on over here. So the key item's right here. And we're getting a message to interact with it. So let's try to interact with this first. Nothing happens. That is good. Okay, we got the key. So now we come over here. As you can see, it now opens. And we can interact with it. And it closes. And it opens. So that is all working. So that is how you would create a collectible item where you have to have that item to be able to interact with something. I hope this video has helped you, and I'll see y'all later.